Hi everyone, my name is Sean Karthik. I am a high school student at St. Andrew's School, and I'll be going into my senior year this school year. So my project is processing the Tamil Wiktionary into an NLP dictionary. And so a little background about this project. Tamil is a language my family speaks, specifically my parents who came from Tamil Nadu, India. It is the fifth largest language in the most populated country in the world, which is also India, which makes it usable by a large group of people. And this is important because the more languages we have that are a part of NLP the more effective natural language processing becomes because it gets more prevalent and widespread. And the more people we have across the world that can be a part of an NLP, the more useful it becomes and the more widespread and sourceful it becomes. So a couple of challenges I've had with this project because it's always important to document the difficulties you have. So my initial plan to use the Tamil Wiktionary pages as my main source was a bust because the entries for parts of speech for the majority of the words were random words. For example, like if it was the Tamil word for the word swim, the part of speech might say something like tree or like just another random word or something that was incomprehensible. So what I had to do for this was it forced me to find a different source for my project, which really pushed me to think on my feet. So how I did that was my dad's old colleague was also a linguist enthusiast. So I used him to help me find a source. And what he did was he helped me find an old tagging project that had parts of speech with Tamil words, which was super helpful for me and it was a great source for me to use. Another challenge I had, the NLP engine was reading a Tamil diacritic as a punctuation and was splitting single words into multiple words. So what that means is a diacritic, meaning some sort of accent or inflection in words. So kind of like an accent for Tamil. So that one word right there, that's one singular word. But how it was reading it was parsed into four separate nodes because it was reading that little dot that you see there as a punctuation. So what we had to do was I had to put my code on hold for a little bit and do research into hex values, hexadecimal values, to see how that little we call that a pulley in Tamil. It's called a pulley. To see how that pulley was being read by a computer. So once I researched that hexadecimal value, we were able to incorporate it with the NLP engine, and we were able to make it so that the NLP would read that whole word as one singular word and treat it as one node. So my results, the way my project works is you give it an input of Tamil text. So for example, the example I use here, that text reads approximately in English, the van drives up the hill. And in your results, you'll see in your tree that it'll tag each word with a part of speech. For example, I think that says noun, noun, verb. So it tags each word as a noun or verb or whatever part of speech you may have. So a couple of auxiliary codes I use a lot of Python scripts to do behind the scenes work that really set up my source in a way that it was able to be processed by my NLP analyzers. And I use Python scripts as my main part of doing that. So what I would do is I would take Python and feed it my huge source of approximately like 15, 25,000 words. And I would just feed it so it would split it up into singular words with their appropriate part of speech. So it was easier for my NLP analyzer to comprehend. So the importance of this project: this is the first Tamil dictionary of parts of speech for NLP which is the best medium for natural language processing, making it the best Tamil dictionary for natural language processing. And this is important because it allows people from Tamil, Sri Lanka, and Singapore to use NLP for natural language processing. And that's approximately 89 million people. So that just opens the gate to a huge amount of people who can now do NLP and process text in their own language and be able to do analyzers for their own work. This project was also a huge amount of fun for me personally because I got to work with my dad a lot on the linguistic portion. Since I couldn't really read Tamil, I can only speak it and comprehend with conversations verbally. And I needed his help with the reading portion. And it just goes to show really how NLP and the natural language processing community as a whole, it really just builds relationships and strengthens it. Because in the end, it's all just linguistic, and linguistic is just communication, and it really just brings everyone together. So the continuance for my project. So although this project delivered the most thorough Tamil dictionary to date for NLP it doesn't cover the entire language completely. It's still missing a good amount of words. So future projects could involve testing the coverage of the dictionary as well as expanding it with other sources, possibly including collaborating with Wiktionary because their source was not great. It was pretty sketchy and shaky as a whole. So a push to increase their efforts towards strengthening the Talmud dictionary and collaborating to them with making a NLP++ dictionary as a whole. Thank you guys for your time.